Hi there, this video is to show you how to perform the steps to write the firmware for an SOtM network audio player to a micro SD card. I tried to do the firmware update recently through the Unhasu menu and was not able to complete it because I had the 8GB card that came with my SMS200 Ultra, and it just wasn't large enough to hold the new firmware, so it would freeze out at 92% and never get any further. I spent about 60 hours trying to do the manual steps that you'll find in the recovery instructions on the SOtM website and could not get it to work. I'll go through that and show you what the problem is and then how to fix it. I should note that I'm going to demonstrate this on a Windows 7 computer. I've got a Windows 10 computer as well, and I've performed these steps on it. They're pretty much the same, just the interface will look a little bit different. So right here I've already downloaded the .gz file from SOtM's website. As you can see there, it's a .gz. There's the file size. You can pause this right here, take a look at the size if you need to confirm that your download from SOtM is the complete file. So we're going to right-click on the file. You'll see I've got 3 unzipping softwares on here. That's going to become important later. I'm going to start with WinZip because it just seems to be the easiest, and I'm going to tell it to unzip to here. Alright, so WinZip unpacked the .gz file, which is here, to this file here. We're going to take a look at its properties. So it says it's a .img file, but it only decompressed it from 2.64 gigabytes to 2.68. That's only, even with the size on disk, I think it's only about 400 megabytes difference. This file should be about 7.4 gigabytes. So that something doesn't seem right there. But we're going to try to take that ISO file, or that IMG file, excuse me, and we're going to try and write it to our micro USB. So I've opened Image USB, which is the program that SOtM says you should use on their website. I'm going to take the file here, and it's on the desktop. There's my IMG right there, so we're going to go ahead and put that there, and we're going to tell it to write to the micro SD card. Alright. Now I kind of skipped over the formatting of the micro SD card. The instructions for this part on the SOtM website are pretty straightforward. Make sure that if you're on a Windows computer you use the FAT32 file system. For that reason it's probably good at this point, as of 2019 when this video is made, that you don't use anything bigger than 32 gigabytes, because then it's going to want you to format it to the exFAT file system. So up to 32 gigabyte you can use the FAT32, use the default allocation size, and then format your card with those settings. A quick format's all you'll need. So it's almost done writing here. We'll come back in just a second and we'll show you what happens when we try to write this .img after extracting it. Alright, so we're doing the write verify here. It was writing the image, and then when it got to 100% I got this error right here that it failed to write. So I'm letting it go through the verification, and sure enough, imaging failed. I went through this many times trying to figure out why it failed, and then an engineer at Passmark, actually, who made Image USB, noted that my unpacked file, which I'll show you again, was only 2.68 gigabytes, and he said that when he extracted it, it was nearly 8 gigabytes. So that got me to thinking, and when I right-click here, I see that I can apparently extract it further. Now that's a different software program, so we're not going to use that one. If I try it again with WinZip and I tell it unzip to here, I get an error. So WinZip thinks that it has unzipped this file as far as it can be unzipped. If I go to 7-zip, however, and I tell it extract here, it's going to extract this file further, and as you're going to see in just a minute, it's going to extract it out to the 7.4 gigabyte file that it should be. An interesting thing about this is when I attempt to unzip the .gz file using 7-zip, it also extracts or unzips that file only to the 2.68 gigabytes that WinZip extracts it to. So you can't just use 7-zip, or I couldn't just use 7-zip and extract it one time and get it all the way out to 7.4 gigabytes. None of the three programs I have would extract it one time all the way out to 7.4. Alright, so this is finished, and it has created a file here, which I'm going to drag over. Now here's a catch. If you try to write this file, it's going to fail. If you look at the properties here, the Windows file system thinks it's a .59 file, and the reason it thinks that is because there's no extension on this file any longer, and because there is a period here. Windows looks at the last period and says that must be the file type is .59. So what we're going to do is we're going to rename the file, and this doesn't always work, as those of you who have ever tried to rename a file using Microsoft Office or a suite like that can attest to. But here it's going to work fine. So I'm just going to add .img to the end of this file, and because right here I've already got a file by this name that purports to be a .img but that won't write, it's going to tell me it wants to make it a number 2, and we're going to tell it that's okay. So now that we've got our file there, we are going to go back and we are going to find image USB, I think, maybe. Alright, let's try it from over here. Image USB. We are going to run it as an administrator, as Passmark recommends. We're going to refresh, make sure we got a good drive here. And we are going to choose, remember, the number 2 file, 7.4 gigabytes. And we are going to tell it to write. And we'll see what happens here in just a minute. Alright, so we're at the verification stage now. When we tried to write, we did not get the error at 100% that we got before. And we're going to take a look here and see if that means we've got a good write or burn onto the micro SD card, and we do. Alright, so there you go, and you get the checksum down here at the bottom to tell you that the file that you downloaded is identical to the file, or at least after you unpacked it twice, is the same as the file that's now written to the micro SD card. So there you have it. For those of you that have issues doing the update through the Unhasu software on your SOTM network player, and you have to do it the manual way, and if your unzipping program does not unzip the file to 7.4 gigabytes, if we're talking about the 0.4.59 firmware version. But for any future firmware, if you have problems and it looks like it's not extracting all the way, there you have your secret. It needs to be extracted a second time, perhaps with a different unzipping software than what you used the first time. You may need to rename the resulting file with the .img extension so that your file system knows that it is in fact a .img file, and you should have success. So I hope you found this helpful, and I hope you enjoy your SOTM network audio player. I've had mine for about a year as of this video, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it's been helpful. Thanks for watching.